All right, folks, settle in because we're about to take a deep dive into what's shaping up to be one of the most fascinating, unpredictable, and truly wild presidential elections in recent memory. We've seen swings in the polls before, but what's happening right now is on another level entirely. Donald Trump's chances of winning the 2024 election have absolutely surged, jumping up to a staggering 61. Just to put this into perspective, 3 weeks ago, Kamala Harris was actually leading the race and was considered the favorite. Now, Trump is firmly in the driver's seat, and the dynamics of this election have taken a complete 180. So in this breakdown, we're going to explore the factors driving Trump's resurgence and Harris's downward spiral. And trust me, the story is far from simple. We're also going to take an in-depth look at the 11 key battleground states that will ultimately decide the outcome of this election. These are the swing states that both campaigns are laser focused on, the places where every vote counts and where the real battle for the White House is being fought. Let's start with Nevada, a state where the race is razor thin and, nail-bitingly close. As of right now, the odds are split right down the middle. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have a 50 chance of winning Nevada. That's right. It's a pure toss-up. What's especially noteworthy is that Harris has been leading in this state for the last couple of months, but Trump has surged, and now they're neck and neck. If we dive into the polling averages, we can see that Trump actually has a slight edge, leading by 0.5. Now, I know that half a percentage point might not sound like much, but in a state that could very well come down to a few thousand votes, it's a big deal. The most recent poll from the Wall Street Journal, which tends to lean a little more liberal, actually shows Trump ahead by a full 6 points. When a left-leaning poll shows Trump in the lead, you know that something major is happening on the ground. Historically, Nevada has been a solidly blue state. No Republican has carried it since George W. Bush did back in 2004. So for Trump to be in this position is remarkable. If we look at polling trends, Harris was leading from late August right up until a few days ago when Trump finally pulled ahead. What we know from watching past elections is that once a candidate overtakes their opponent in swing states this close to election day, the momentum often stays with them. Nevada has been trending more competitive over recent years, and Trump's populist message resonates with the state's working class voters, a demographic that has become more and more influential in Nevada's election. Given this shift in voter sentiment and the latest polling data, it's fair to say Nevada is leaning slightly red on the electoral map right now. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now let's head south to Arizona, another absolutely critical state and one where Trump is in a strong position. His chances of winning Arizona are sitting at 68, and that's significant because Arizona flipped blue in 2020 for the first time in decades. Well, it was a big upset when Joe Biden narrowly won the state, but now Trump is back and looks stronger than ever. One of the big reasons for this is that the Democratic campaign, after replacing Biden with Kamala Harris, thought she could keep the momentum going, but the reality is she's doing worse than Biden was in the same position. This is a huge red flag for the Democratic Party. Looking at the polling, Trump is ahead in Arizona by 1 point. Well, this is one of the 3 swing states where Trump has a lead of at least one, which might not sound massive. But when you remember how close Arizona was in 2020, it becomes clear that any lead is crucial. The New York Times has Trump up by 5 points in their latest poll. And this tells us a lot about the direction this race is going. Trump has always had strong support in Arizona. And despite Harris briefly taking the lead right after the Democratic National Convention, she has since fallen behind. Given all this, Arizona looks to be leaning Republican, and Trump has a good shot at flipping it back to red. Now let's move over to Texas. Here, things aren't as competitive, but it's still important because of Texas' massive 40 electoral votes. Right now, Trump has a commanding 91 chance of winning Texas. He carried the state in both 2016 and 2020, and it's hard to see any scenario where Harris flips it this time around. There's been some chatter about the competitive Senate race with Ted Cruz, who's fighting for his political life, but that race likely won't affect the presidential election. Cruz isn't exactly the most popular Republican in Texas, but Trump's approval ratings, they're solid. 4 years ago, the poll said Trump would only win Texas by 1, but he ended up winning by nearly 6 points. This time around, he's leading by a similar margin, and if things keep trending the way they are, we might even see Trump win Texas by double digits. That's why Texas is considered likely red on the electoral map for Trump. Now let's talk about the Midwest, which is where Kamala Harris's campaign really faces its biggest challenges. The Midwest is home to 4 key battleground states, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, that Harris absolutely must win if she has any chance of reaching 270 electoral votes. These are traditionally blue states, but Trump shocked the world by flipping some of them in 2016. Today, Harris's campaign is struggling to maintain a strong foothold in these states, and we'll break down why. Starting with Minnesota, this is a state that no Democrat has lost since 1972. So you'd think it would be a safe bet for Harris, but things are a little shakier than they should be. One of the strategic errors Harris's campaign made was selecting Tim Walz, Minnesota's governor, as her running mate. Sure, Walz helps her secure Minnesota, but that's about it. Harris needed someone who could help her win a state like Pennsylvania or Michigan, and Walz doesn't really bring that kind of broad appeal. Right now, Harris still has a 91 chance of winning Minnesota, but that's lower than what Biden was polling in 2020 when he won the state by a comfortable 7 margin. Harris's lead in the polls is less than 5 points now, and that shows just how much ground Democrats have lost in this region. Minnesota will probably go blue, but it's not going to be the solid win the Democrats are used to. Let's shift to Wisconsin, where things are looking even worse for Harris. Wisconsin has been one of the most hotly contested states this cycle, and at one point, Harris had a 60 chance of winning it. Today, her odds have plummeted to 47, meaning Trump is now the favorite to win Wisconsin. He just took the lead a few days ago, and it's the first time he's been ahead here in over 2 months. If we look back, Wisconsin has a history of pollsters underestimating Republican support. In 2016, Hillary Clinton was projected to win Wisconsin by 6 points, but Trump pulled off a victory. In 2020, the polls had Biden winning by more than 6, but he barely squeaked by with a 0.6 margin. Given this polling history, it wouldn't be surprising to see Trump not only maintain his lead, but expand it as Election Day approaches. That's why Wisconsin is now a tilt red state in our projections. Michigan is another state that Harris is losing ground in fast. A few months ago, she was sitting pretty with nearly a 70 chance of winning Michigan, but today that number has plummeted to just 46. Trump has now taken the lead in Michigan for the first time in over 2 months. This is significant because Michigan was supposed to be one of the Democrats' safer bets among the battleground states. In 2020, Biden won Michigan by nearly 3 points, but now Trump is ahead by 1 in the latest polling averages. If Trump wins Michigan, it would be a massive blow to Harris's chances of reaching 270 electoral votes. Michigan is now considered a tilt Republican state as well. Now let's talk about Pennsylvania, perhaps the most crucial state in this election. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, he might not even need Michigan or Wisconsin to win the presidency. Right now, Trump's chances of winning Pennsylvania are at 56, and he's leading in the polls by 0.3. That may not seem like much, but in a state as closely divided as Pennsylvania, every fraction of a percentage point matters. The state has been trending toward Trump in recent weeks, and if this momentum holds, it could be game over for Harris. Pennsylvania is now leaning Republican on our electoral map. Let's move to Virginia. Harris is still the favorite here with a 9-1 chance of winning, but this race is closer than Democrats would like. Virginia has been reliably blue since George W. Bush's presidency, and Biden won it by double digits in 2020. However, Harris's lead in the polls is under 7 points, which shows that the Republican base in Virginia is more energized than in previous years. While it's unlikely that Trump will flip the state, the margin is likely to be much closer than in 2020, making Virginia a likely blue state. In North Carolina, Trump is looking solid. He has a 62% chance of winning, and he's ahead in the polls by 1.4. He's been consistently leading in this state throughout the campaign, and although North Carolina is always competitive, Trump has maintained his edge. He's now leaning red. As we move down to Georgia, the race is tighter, but Trump still has the upper hand. He's got a 64% chance of winning the state, which he lost in 2020. Georgia has been one of the key battlegrounds this cycle, and it's another must-win for Harris. But Trump has maintained a small but consistent lead for the past few weeks. He's ahead by 0.7, and we're marking Georgia as lean Republican. Finally, we head to Florida, where Trump is absolutely dominating. Trump won Florida by 1.2 in 2016 and by 3.4 in 2020. And today, he's leading Harris by over 6 points. The latest polls show Trump leading by as much as 14 points. Florida is going to vote for Trump again, and we're calling it likely red. So after going through all the battleground states, here's where things stand. Trump is on track to win every single swing state. That would give him 332 electoral votes compared to Kamala Harris's 206. This election is far from over, but with less than 20 days to go. Donald Trump has all the momentum on his side. Kamala Harris's campaign is struggling to make up lost ground, and unless something changes dramatically, Trump is heading toward a historic victory. Keep it locked here for more updates on the race as we count down to Election Day. And as always, Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest news and analysis. Thanks for watching.